Freud once asked the question, what do women want? And I would argue that what women want is their own money. And I have heard a lot of stories about, some really horrifying stories about young girls, people being trafficked. As Lionel said, this is just something, I mean, I want them to throw away the key on these people. But what's interesting is some of the statistics that I've been hearing, because what's interesting is the only people that you can get these statistics from are the people at the very, very bottom. And they constitute a very small percentage of all of the working girls, at least in the United States. I cannot speak for anywhere else. And because I have to tell you that I don't recognize any of the kinds of clients that the opposition has talked about. I don't recognize any of the kinds of girls that the opposition has talked about. So let me tell you a little bit about the experiences that I had, and that because I know so many people all over the United States that run escort services or that have worked as working girls, there's tens of hundreds of thousands of them. And let me tell you a little bit about the story. First of all, who's really taking advantage of who? I would argue that it is the women taking advantage of the men's need for us. After all, who ends up with the money? We do. Who's the one who sets the price? We do. They're the ones who shell out because they want what we have. And if they don't want to pay it, then they don't get it. I mean, it's as simple as that. So and by the way, can I just say that building an ugly building affects millions of people over hundreds of years. So I didn't feel bad. That was something she's right, it absolutely offended me. There's a lot of ugly buildings out there. So let me tell you about some of the gals who worked for me and who are first of all, most of them are students. I did not hire anyone under the age of 19. No one I know, and I know dozens and dozens and dozens of madams, ever hires girls under the age of 18. Never. I only took 40% of the young ladies' earnings, and they wanted to give that money to me. They didn't have to, but I took the phone calls. I'm the one who set it up. I'm the one who checked them out. I'm the one that made sure they got the money. If for some reason, at the end of the evening he didn't pay, I would still pay her. And can I tell you something? In 5.5 years, you should pardon the expression, we never once got stiffed. And we got the money at the end. They use the word pimp, and I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that really fit that description, that aren't horrible people, but we're not all like that. So let me tell you about Colby. Colby was the daughter of a doctor, and she was used to living a very privileged life. She was in medical school, and she had several siblings who were either in college or medical school or law school or whatever. And Colby had a thing for, beautiful clothes. $600 boots is actually the example she gave to me. And she came to work for me because she felt guilty asking her father, who had so many other, of her siblings in school, to give her $600 for a pair of boots. This was Colby's choice, but this is the reason she worked for me, so that she could have $600 boots. Sandy was a singer in a rock and roll band, and she and her band had finally broken through and had gotten a tour put together. And about 3 months before they were supposed to go on tour, someone broke into the van and stole all their equipment. This was their chance to really be someone and really make it. And so everyone went to work doing something else, and Sandy came to work for me. And most of the girls, as I said before, were students. And the way I used to look at it is, here was the girls' dreams on this side of the river. They wanted to be models, actresses, dancers, singers. They wanted a degree. I had girls who wanted to be nurses. I had girls who wanted to be all different kinds of things. And this is their dream on this side of the gulch. And here they were over here, and they needed the money to pay the toll to the bridge to get to the other side so that they could have the life that they wanted. And they decided, and they could have done anything else, they decided that they wanted to do this. It was their choice. And I know a lot of people are going to find this offensive, but I don't think there's one single solitary girl that worked for me who didn't come back after the very first time and say, I can't believe it was so easy. I can't believe I didn't do this before. I know this is offensive to some people, but I mean, may a lightning bolt come down. This is what they said. And with respect to the guys, I mean, we had terrific, we had a little Saudi prince who wanted to have pillow fights, because when he was a kid, he never got to have pillow fights. We had workaholics who had no time for a personal life, especially back in the early 80s. We had currency traders who, were awake at all different times. They didn't have time for a girlfriend. Women weren't going to put up with guys who were never around. These were guys that women pay thousands of dollars to join these matchmaking services in order to meet. They were people who were between relationships. They wanted a sure thing. There were lonely travelers. There's a lot of guys out there who are on the road, week after week after week. They just want a little company. Now, when you figure that what we used to euphemistically call the nitty-gritty only lasted maybe 5, 7, 8 minutes, and yet the clients kept the young ladies for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, what were they really paying for? If all they wanted was the sex, believe me, they could have gotten it for a hell of a lot less. We charge top dollar. That's not all that they pay for. A lot of them pay for the company. They pay because they want a pretty girl to talk to and to have a good time with. I had a couple clients who had invalid wives who felt that it was cheating if they got a girlfriend, but they still had needs that they need to have met. So while it is true that there are a lot of bad people out there doing bad things to girls, I think to say that all of these girls are abused, that all of these girls are taken advantage of, that they're all traumatized, yes, there are some, but it's certainly not the majority. And believe me, I want them to throw away the key on these people too. But I think to tar everyone with the same brush is just not being realistic, because there are a lot of good people out there who are doing this. And to criminalize these girls and to give them records so that they can't go and live a normal life, just to me doesn't seem right.
Thank you, Sydney Biddle Barrows.